If you're looking to apply for a mortgage, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed by actually submitting a loan application. That's the first step that you need to take when you're looking at getting a mortgage. You're going to submit a loan application with a lender, usually a loan officer who you've probably talked to beforehand. And it can feel overwhelming because there's a lot of questions asked, and it feels like you're putting all of this personal information and throwing it out there. And you don't know what's going to happen. So what we're going to do is walk through a real life loan application step by step so you can understand what's going on, why these questions are being asked, so you can have a better idea of what you're doing and feel a little bit more confident and comfortable moving forward with it. So first of all, a loan application is actually an officially required document by the federal government. It's called a URLA 1003. So it's Uniform Residential Loan Application 1003. And this loan application, this 1003, is required with every single lender. The thing is, the 1003 is an incredibly difficult document to read. It's hard to see where blanks are and what information needs to be in there. So instead, what a lot of lenders do is they have web applications. So it's a 1003, but it's done online, so it's easy to actually go through on your own. So what we're going to do is go through actually my application that we have here at our company. Quick side note, please do not fill this out on my website unless you're applying in Ohio, Florida, or Tennessee, which are the states I'm licensed in right now. I would hate for you to go through this whole process and then have to send you an email and tell you I can't work in your state. So the first thing that you're going to do is your lender is going to send you a login, or send you a link to log in or create an account. So I already have an account here. So what I'm going to do is log into my account. And so what you probably will do is actually set up an account. You'll have to register with your email and a password online. And what you can do with most web applications is either apply it on your computer or on your phone. I'm just going to do it on my computer since it's a little bit easier here. So I'm going to put in some fictitious information. So we're going to say Jim Halpert. He goes by Jimothy. Put some information in here for office fans. Okay, and your lender might have something that asks, do you want to receive information in a specific way? We're going to say yes and finish this setup. Okay, so we get a nice little welcome screen here. Something to know is that different lenders have different web applications for their own mortgage applications. Yours might not look like this. It might look a little bit different, might have a different company branding. But all these questions are going to be very similar across different lenders because, again, it all is pulled from the URLA 1003. So first section is about you. So what I'm going to put in first is just general information about me. So date of birth. I'm not going to put in my real date of birth here. I'll just put in 1996 because that's when I was born. Marital status. Let's say we're acting like we're Jim Halpert. So we're going to say unmarried. You'll notice there's no single option in here. Lenders legally are not allowed to ask if you're single. They have to use the language married, separated, or unmarried. So separated is a legal separation or divorce. Or if you're divorced, you can also put unmarried in there as well. Okay, something that we can do here is we're going to put in 700. Let's say Scranton Lane. Is this a real place? I don't know. I don't think it is. Scranton, PA. All right. And again, I'm just making up some fake information here. Then you're going to put in, do you have a separate mailing address? Okay, we're going to say no here. So do you have any dependents? I'm going to say yes. And your dependents are who, do you have dependents that you file on your tax returns? So if you do, great, you're going to put them in here. If not, then you're not going to put them in here. So let's say we have one dependent, and then we're going to put in the age here. And let's say our dependent is 7. All right, so we'll continue. Do we currently rent? We're going to say yes. And we're going to say we spend $900 per month on rent. Are we applying with a co-borrower? So you're either applying by yourself or applying with someone else. Either option is great. Something that you can do if you want to be on the cautious side is you can apply with a co-borrower, someone like as a spouse or a partner, and then talk to your loan officer. The loan officer can always remove a co-borrower, and they can always add a co-borrower if they need to. We're going to go without one for right now, but a co-borrower is going to have the exact same information put in here as you as the borrower. So we're going to review this information. This all looks good to me right now, and you can see right now, so far it's not too bad. It's just some general information here. Now we're going to fill out our goals. So what do we want to do? We want to purchase or refinance. We're going to say we want to purchase. So we're going to choose the state that we're purchasing in, and we're going to say Pennsylvania. Somewhere in here, did I just fly past it? There we go. So then type of property. We're just going to take our best guess here on what kind of property we're purchasing. It's either going to be a single family home, which is most people, or it's a condo or a townhouse, a co-op, or maybe a multi-unit. So we're going to say single family here. Then we have to say, how are we planning on using that property? Are we going to live in it? If so, it's a primary residence. Are we using it as a second home? Then it's a secondary residence. Or are we using it as an investment property? So we're going to say this is a primary residence. So in here, we're going to put our purchase price. Sometimes it's a little confusing because you're thinking, well, I need somebody to tell me the purchase price. So what you're going to do is put in kind of an approximate idea of what you're thinking. Just shoot out a number. Are you looking for something that's 100,000 or 700,000? Just give us some sort of ballpark range in here. We're going to say 200,000. Then with our down payment, we can put in how much we're putting in dollars or percentage. So if you've done some research on this channel, you know a minimum down payment on a conventional loan is 3%. So we're going to put that in here, and it's going to auto calculate for us, which is nice. So let's go ahead and continue. We saw the goals that we put in. This all looks good to me, so we'll finish that section. So now we're going to look at some personal info. Okay, so have you had employment in the past 2 years? I'm going to say yes, add employment. Then we'll put in our employer name. So Dunder Mifflin. Put in the phone number and the address. Hello. All right, it's going to force me to put in an address. We're going to say no, we're not self-employed. We're going to say salesperson. Start date. I'm going to put in a start date that is less than 2 years here. We'll go 19. Okay, we'll say I currently work here. Years employed in this profession, we're going to say 2. Then what we're going to put in here is either the annual salary or hourly. So, and again, this is where you're kind of giving a best guess of what did you earn in this past year. So let's say in this past year, we earned $80,000. So do you receive any overtime? No. Any bonuses? No. Any commissions? We can say, yeah, we earned $5,000 in commissions last year. And we'll continue. So something that we need to make sure we do is we include a 2-year work history. So you can see we've only gone back to January of 2019. So we need to include our past employment in here. So we'll add one more employment source, and we're going to say, let's see, let's do this, Staples, okay? And again, you're just going to put in whatever address is for your employer. We'll say what our start date was, 2018. Okay. We'll say what our pay was there. Maybe it was 70,000. And we'll continue. So now we can go ahead and verify our employment history and make sure that that's all correct. So we'll finish with employment. Then what we can do is we can say any other income that we earn outside of employment. So things like dividend or interest income, pension retirement income, alimony or child support income, net rental, social security or disability, or anything that's other. Right now we're going to say no, we don't have any of that extra income, but if you do, it's super easy to input that in there. So do we have any more income sources? We're going to say no and just continue. Now what we have to do is talk about our assets. And a lender needs to verify your assets to be able to see that you actually have money to close. And they need to verify where that comes from. So they need to make sure that you're not borrowing money for a down payment. They need to make sure that that's actual money that you have that's not being borrowed. So anytime you're putting in an asset in here, the lender is going to ask for you to verify that with paper documentation. So for instance, if I come in here and say in my checking account, I have a specific amount of money, the lender needs to verify that with the bank statements. So it's something to keep in mind. So I'm going to say in my savings account with Simple Bank, I have, let's say $30,000. In here, you can put an account number or not. Sometimes people get a little uncomfortable putting account numbers, but your lender is going to know the account number when you send them bank statements anyway. The reason why the account number is there is so they can understand which accounts different money is in if they're seeing multiple bank statements. So if you want, you can put in, it's the last 4 digits are that. That's all the lender really needs. They just need to be able to see bank statements and the assets that you're talking about and match them up. Okay, so we're going to say this is all of the assets that we have right now, and we'll continue. And the assets that the lender wants to verify are the things needed for the down payment and closing costs. Okay, if you have a pension, 401k, that's great. But if you're not using that money for down payment or closing costs, it's not really important to put it in the application. Social Security. So right now, I'm not going to put in a real Social Security number. But what's going to happen on your application is it's going to ask if you consent to a credit check and agree to its terms. So you can always click to find the terms of the credit check, but you can choose yes or no. We're going to choose yes here. And you can talk with your lender about, do you want a hard credit pull or a soft credit pull? Then we're also going to put in the highest level of education. So we're going to say bachelor's degree in here. Something to note is when you go through an application, it most likely is not going to ask you for how much you pay in expenses or how much your debts are. And that's because when a credit report is pulled, it actually auto pulls in all of your monthly debts so the lender can see that to qualify you on a loan. Okay, so now what we can do is look at a 2-year resident history. Okay, so we can say this is our current address. When was our move-in date? I'm going to say this was, let's say 2016, and we're renting. Okay, and if this was less than 2 years, then you'd want to add a previous address. We need to show a 2-year residence history here. Okay, we'll go ahead and continue. So now we can review this section and see, do we have all this info in here right to the best of our ability? Great. And if there are things that you don't know, that's okay. Your lender is there to help you verify some of this information. So now what we do is we go on to the declarations section. Okay, and so this is something that's required by the government along with the demographic information. And basically what this is doing is we have to give declarations about our financial picture along with our demographic picture. And I'll explain the demographics here in a second when we come up to it. So first, do you intend to occupy the property as your primary residence? Basically, are you going to live in the house? Great. Yes or no? So we're going to say, yeah, we're going to live in the house. Are there any outstanding judgments? So does anybody have a judgment against you right now? We're going to say no. Have you declared bankruptcy within the past 7 years? Either Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. We're going to say no. Have you had any foreclosure, given title, deed in lieu in the past 7 years? We're going to say no. Are you currently in a lawsuit? We're going to say no. Have you had any loan with foreclosure at any point in time? And we're going to say no. And sometimes you might be able to, if you click yes, write in an explanation here that helps your lender understand and document things. And keep in mind too, if you have had these bankruptcies, that's okay. It doesn't disqualify you. Your lender is going to help you understand the timelines and what's needed in here. Okay, let's go down here. Are you presently delinquent or in default of any federal debt or any other loan, a mortgage, financial obligation, bond, or loan guarantee? So this is really important to tell your lender, especially if you haven't paid taxes, you have that debt that you need to be able to pay. And the lender is going to have to check that before you can close on a mortgage. Are you obligated to pay alimony, child support, or separate maintenance? If so, that's something that needs to be included in your debt to income. So if that's something that we had here, we could say yes, child support for $600 per month. Okay. Then is any part of the down payment borrowed? We're going to pick no. In most cases, this answer will be no. Really, one of the only times you can borrow a down payment is when it's something like a 401k that you're borrowing against, or you're using a home equity line of credit. But you can't use unsecured funds to use on the down payment of your home. It can only be secured loans. Okay. Are you the co-maker or endorser on a note? And we could maybe say, yeah, we say yes, co-signed for son's car loan. I think in this application we put our son as 7. But that's okay. It's just an example. Co-signed for son's car loan. And we'll just put that in the way it is. Have you had any ownership interest in a property in the last 3 years? That just means, have you owned a home in the past 3 years? We're going to say no. And then finally, what's our U.S. citizenship status? Either U.S. citizen, permanent resident alien, or non-permanent resident alien. For most people, they're going to be U.S. citizens. If you're a permanent resident alien, you can also get a mortgage very similarly to if you are a citizen. If you're non-permanent resident alien, you can use a foreign national program. Those have a little bit more restrictions to them, but just know you can get a mortgage with all 3 types of citizenship status. So we will continue. Then we go on to the demographic information. And demographic information is here because the government requires it. And basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to not really get information about you. They're mainly wanting to see, are lenders discriminating against certain types of demographics? So they're going to ask about ethnicity, race, and sex. So what you can do if you want, you can just put I do not wish to provide on all this. That's not going to change anything with your application. What happens is at the end of a quarter, a call report has to go out to basically federal regulators, and they're going to try to spot any patterns of any sort of profiling that's going on that they can investigate. So that's why this is here. They want to make sure no discrimination is going on. So we'll continue. And then it looks like here are some of our last questions. Ideal comfortable monthly payment. So what's a payment that we're shooting for? We can tell this so our loan officer knows kind of a comfortable range. That way they can help us meet those numbers with a price range we're looking at. Okay, will your employment or hours be affected by COVID? We're gonna say no. And are you a veteran? We're gonna say no as well. And we'll continue. So we're gonna review all this information to make sure it's correct. Finish this section. All right, so here's the final review. We can review each section here, make sure all that information is correct, and submit. So once you submit, you're all done. That's as difficult as it is. It really shouldn't take you too long. How long have we been on this video? 19 minutes. So you can probably go through it on your own in like 10, 15 minutes. It really isn't that difficult to pull in information. So from here, your loan officer got that application. So the next step in the process is for you to submit documents to them. So it'll be things like your pay stubs, your W-2s, maybe tax returns, ID, your bank statements. And what you want to do is package that together really nicely so that your lender can process your application really quickly. If you don't do this, what ends up happening is it can be just like teeth pulling, where your lender takes a while to get back with you because they're trying to search for the documents that you need and you're sending them one by one. So the best way to tackle the next step and make it as quick and painless as possible is to collect documents in the right way. So if you want to learn how to collect documents for your lender in the correct way, I'm going to show you how to package it all up in a nice, neat way. It's going to save you time, energy, and stress. I want you to click over to this video to understand how to send in documents to your loan officer.